This failure is on you."
The words didn't just land. They echoed.
I was standing in front of the conference table, palms cold, throat dry, while Ethan Cross leaned back in his chair like a judge passing sentence. Around him, my coworkers avoided eye contact.
Some stared at their laptops. Others pretended to take notes. I opened my mouth. Closed it. Because I had already tried.
"I warned you," I said quietly, barely audible over the hum of the projector.
Ethan smirked.
"If you had concerns, you should have raised them earlier."
I felt something twist in my chest. I had 3 emails, 2 meetings, 1 direct message, all ignored.
Across the table, Ryan Cole sat comfortably, arms folded, saying nothing. The same Ryan who had taken over the project after I built the foundation.
The same Ryan who dismissed every risk I flagged. Now he was silent. And I was the scapegoat.
Ethan stood. "We'll discuss damage control later. For now, fix it."
Fix what they broke.
As the room emptied, I stayed behind, staring at the screen.
That was the moment I realized something.
This wasn't a mistake.
It was a setup.
And I had just become the easiest person to blame.
But what Ethan didn't know.
I had proof.
And I was done being invisible. I didn't storm out. I didn't argue. I went back to my desk.
That's how it always worked. The loud ones got heard. The quiet ones got used.
My inbox was still open.
The subject lines stared back at me like evidence in a trial no one cared about. Risk in timeline, urgent. Client integration issue, needs review. No response.
Following up.
Each one sent days before the failure.
Each one ignored. I leaned back and closed my eyes. This wasn't the first time. Ethan had always favored Ryan. Everyone knew it.
Ryan laughed at Ethan's jokes, stayed late when Ethan stayed late, nodded at every decision like it was genius. I asked questions.
That was my mistake. Questions slowed things down.
And Ethan hated anything that made him look uncertain.
So he pushed me aside. Slowly. Quietly.
Until today.
My phone buzzed. A message from Ryan.
"Hey, tough meeting. Don't take it personally."
I stared at the screen. Not personal?
My reputation had just been dragged across the floor. And he called it not personal.
That's when something shifted. Not anger. Clarity. I opened a new folder on my computer. And started organizing everything. If they wanted a story, I was going to make sure the truth was the only version left. The more I looked, the clearer it became. This wasn't one bad decision. It was a pattern.
Ryan would rush deadlines, cut corners, and promise things we couldn't deliver.
I would flag the risks.
Ethan would ignore me and back Ryan anyway.
Then when things broke, someone else took the fall. Usually someone junior.
This time, it was me.
I pulled up the project timeline. Every milestone.
Every delay.
Every ignored warning. It was all there. Time-stamped. Documented.
I remember the day Ryan told me, "Don't overthink it. The client won't notice."
I had hesitated.
But Ethan was already nodding.
Decision made. That moment replayed in my head. Not because of what they said, but because of what I didn't do. I stayed quiet. I let it happen. Because I thought being right would be enough. It wasn't.
In this office, perception mattered more than truth.
And Ethan controlled the narrative.
Or at least, he thought he did. Because for the first time, I wasn't just seeing the pattern. I was preparing to break it. 2 days later, we had another internal meeting. "Client's not happy," Ethan said, pacing. "We need solutions."
I raised my hand. The room shifted slightly. It always did when I spoke now.
"There's a deeper issue," I said carefully. "The integration isn't stable. Even if we patch it, it'll fail again." Ethan stopped walking. "Are you saying we can't fix it?"
"I'm saying we need to fix it properly.
It'll take more time, but..."
"We don't have time," he cut in. Ryan leaned forward.
"We can push a temporary fix. Buy ourselves breathing room."
Ethan nodded immediately.
"That's what we'll do."
I felt the frustration rise.
"That's exactly what caused the problem in the first place," I said.
Silence. Ethan's expression hardened. "Noted," he said flatly.
"We're moving forward with Ryan's approach."
Meeting over. Just like that.
As people stood up, one of my coworkers whispered, "You're right, you know."
But they said it quietly. Out of reach of Ethan.
Out of consequence.
I sat there for a moment longer.
Then I added another file to my folder. Because now it wasn't just about being ignored. It was about watching a mistake happen, again. The call came at 7:42 p.m.
I almost didn't answer. Unknown number. But something told me to pick it up. Hello? A pause. Then a calm, measured voice. This is Mr. Bennett from the client side.
I hope I'm not calling too late. I sat up straight. No, not at all.
I'll be direct, he said. We've been reviewing the project.
And I have some concerns. My heart started to race.
Of course, I said carefully.
I noticed several inconsistencies. Decisions that don't align with earlier recommendations.
I swallowed.
I was wondering, were you involved in those decisions? There it was. A question no one inside my company had asked.
I chose my words carefully.
I raised some concerns, I said. But final decisions weren't mine.
Another pause.
I see, Mr. Bennett said.
Then, quietly.
That's what I suspected.
Something shifted in the air.
I'd like to understand your perspective, he continued. Off the record.
Off the record. I looked around my empty apartment. This wasn't just a call. It was an opening. And for the first time, someone was actually listening. I knew this moment mattered.
But I also knew one thing clearly.
I wasn't going to lie. And I wasn't going to expose anything illegally.
My perspective stays within company boundaries, I said calmly. But I can walk you through the technical risks. Mr. Bennett didn't interrupt.
So I explained.
The unstable integration. The rushed decisions. The need for a proper fix.
No blame. Just facts.
When I finished, there was silence.
Then a quiet exhale. Thank you, he said.
That confirms a lot.
A lot?
What do you mean?
I asked.
We've worked with many teams, he said. Patterns show.
And right now, something doesn't add up. I leaned forward.
May I ask why you called me directly?
Another pause.
Because you're the only one whose work has been consistent. That hit harder than any praise I'd ever received.
Consistent. Not loud. Not flashy. Just reliable.
Let's keep this between us for now, he added. But I may reach out again.
When the call ended, I sat there in silence. This wasn't revenge. Not yet. But it was something more powerful.
It was the truth, starting to move. The next morning, nothing looked different.
Same office. Same noise. Same people.
But everything felt different.
Because now I knew something they didn't. The client was watching.
Ethan walked past my desk without a glance.
Ryan joked with someone near the coffee machine. Business as usual. But I wasn't the same.
I wasn't trying to prove myself anymore.
I was preparing. I double-checked every task. Documented every decision. Saved every message. Not out of fear.
Out of clarity. If things went wrong again, and they would, I wasn't going to be the one standing alone. Later that day, Ethan announced, client review call tomorrow. Be ready.
My pulse quickened.
Ryan grinned. We've got this. I didn't say anything.
Because I knew something he didn't. This wasn't just a review. It was a test. And this time, I wasn't the one being evaluated. The conference call started like any other. Ethan led. Ryan presented. I listened.
Then came the questions. Mr. Bennett's voice cut through the room. Can you explain why the integration approach changed mid-project? Ethan didn't hesitate. It was a strategic decision. Based on what data?
Mr. Bennett asked. A pause.
Ryan jumped in. We believed it would improve efficiency. Believed.
Mr. Bennett repeated. Silence. Then,
I'd like to hear from someone else on the team, he said.
My heart stopped.
Can you share your view?
The room turned toward me. Ethan's eyes narrowed slightly. This was it. I spoke calmly. There were concerns raised about the approach.
The risks were documented, but the decision moved forward anyway.
The line went quiet. Then Mr. Bennett said something that changed everything.
That aligns with what we've seen. Ethan stiffened. Ryan shifted in his seat.
And for the first time,
the narrative cracked. After the call, the office felt different. Quieter. Tighter. Ethan called Ryan into his office immediately.
The door closed.
Voices low but tense.
I stayed at my desk. Working. Watching. An hour later, Ethan came out. Team meeting. Now. We gathered again. His tone had changed.
We need to revisit our approach, he said. Clearly, there were oversights. Oversights.
Not mistakes.
Not decisions.
Oversights. He glanced at me briefly, then looked away. Ryan didn't say much. For the first time, he looked uncertain.
Ethan continued, "From now on, all decisions go through me."
That was new. Control tightening.
But it was already slipping.
Because now, it wasn't just internal.
The client was involved.
And they had questions.
Real ones. Ones that couldn't be brushed aside.
As the meeting ended, I felt something unfamiliar. Not victory. Not yet. But momentum.
The kind that builds quietly, until it becomes impossible to stop.
That night, I stayed late. Not because I had to.
Because I wanted to be ready. If things escalated, I needed more than instincts.
I needed proof.
I reviewed everything again.
Then I noticed something new.
A budget discrepancy.
Small at first, but repeated. Decisions that cost more than planned.
Adjustments that were never explained.
I traced it back. Every time. It led to Ryan's changes. I leaned closer to the screen.
This wasn't just about technical mistakes.
This was about judgment. Patterns of poor decisions. And Ethan had approved every single one.
I didn't jump to conclusions.
I documented. Carefully. Methodically. Because I knew one thing. Truth doesn't need exaggeration. It just needs to be seen clearly.
As I saved the final file, my phone buzzed again.
A message from Mr. Bennett.
"Can we speak tomorrow?" I stared at the screen. This was getting bigger. Much bigger than I expected. This time, I was ready. "Thank you for taking the call," Mr. Bennett said.
Of course.
"I'll be direct again," he continued. "We're considering a full audit of the project."
My chest tightened.
"That's a serious step," I said.
"It is," he replied.
"And we don't take it lightly." I understood what that meant. If an audit happened, everything would be reviewed.
Every decision.
Every cost.
Every mistake. "I want to ask you something," he said.
"Go ahead." "If we move forward, can this project still be saved?"
I didn't answer immediately. Because this wasn't just technical. This was about trust.
"Yes," I said finally. "But only if we address the root issues." "And those are?"
I chose my words carefully. Decision-making. Accountability.
And transparency.
Silence.
Then, that's exactly what we're missing.
When the call ended, I realized something.
This wasn't just about fixing a project anymore. It was about exposing a system that never should have worked this way.
And it was starting to collapse. News travels fast.
Even when no one says anything directly. By the next day, the energy had shifted.
People whispered more. Watched more. Ryan wasn't as confident. Ethan wasn't as relaxed. Something was coming. And everyone could feel it. A coworker stopped by my desk.
"Hey, was that you on the call yesterday?"
I nodded. They hesitated. Then said quietly.
"About time someone said it."
About time. I almost laughed. Where were they before?
But I understood.
People don't speak when it's safe. They speak when it's necessary.
And now, it was becoming necessary. Later that afternoon, Ethan called me into his office.
He closed the door, sat down, and for the first time, he looked at me differently. Not dismissive. Not annoyed. Careful.
"We need to align," he said.
Align. I knew what that meant. Control the narrative. But this time, I wasn't the one adjusting. Ethan leaned forward.
"I think there's been a misunderstanding," he said. "We're all on the same team."
I stayed silent. He continued.
"The client is asking a lot of questions. We need to present a unified front."
There it was.
"Not truth. Unity. I've always valued your work," he added.
That almost made me smile.
"Always. You've raised good points," he said. "Maybe we didn't act on them fast enough." "Maybe. I want you to be more involved moving forward," he continued.
"Work closely with Ryan.
Help stabilize things.
Help fix it. But on his terms."
I looked at him,
then said something simple.
"I'll do what's best for the project." Not for him. Not for Ryan.
For the project. He nodded slowly.
Good.
But as I walked out of that office, I realized something important. Ethan wasn't offering partnership. He was trying to regain control. And for the first time, it wasn't working. Because the story was no longer his to shape.
And the truth?
It was just getting started.
The next week, something strange happened.
I wasn't officially promoted. No announcement. No title change.
But suddenly, everything came to me.
decisions, questions, fixes.
Even Ryan started forwarding emails to me. Can you check this? Client wants clarification. Need your input.
I noticed the shift immediately. Not respect. Dependence. The same people who ignored me now needed me. Ethan included.
Adrian, review this before we send it, he said during a meeting.
Before, he wouldn't even let me finish a sentence. Now he wanted my approval. I nodded. Stayed calm.
Because this wasn't validation. This was pressure. They were building a safety net.
And I was it. But here's what they didn't realize.
A safety net doesn't stop a fall.
It just delays the impact.
That evening, I got another message from Mr. Bennett. The audit has been approved. I stared at the screen. It was official. Everything would be reviewed. Everything. And for the first time,
I wasn't the one at risk. It started quietly. 2 external auditors walked in like they belonged there. No drama. No announcements. Just laptops and questions.
Can you walk us through this decision? Who approved this change? Where is the documentation?
Simple questions.
Dangerous answers.
I watched Ethan carefully. He stayed composed, confident. But I noticed the cracks. Small pauses. Quick glances at Ryan.
Ryan, on the other hand,
was different. Less talkative. Less certain.
The auditors came to me later. Adrian, we'd like your input.
I nodded.
And I gave them exactly what I had always given.
Facts. No emotion. No blame.
Just clear, documented truth.
Emails. Timelines.
Flagged risks. Everything I had saved. One auditor looked at the screen, then at me. You documented all this?
Yes. Why? I paused, then answered honestly. Because I knew this might happen.
They exchanged a glance.
Not surprise. Understanding. That moment told me everything. This wasn't just a routine check. They were seeing the pattern.
And once a pattern is seen,
it can't be unseen.
The office didn't feel like an office anymore.
It felt like a waiting room.
Everyone pretending things were normal,
while knowing they weren't. Ryan started avoiding eye contact. Meetings became shorter. Tense.
Ethan was everywhere, checking, reviewing, controlling.
Too much. That's how I knew. He was worried.
One afternoon, I overheard Ryan whispering near the hallway. We didn't think it would go this far.
Didn't think. That was the problem. They never thought beyond the shortcut. Beyond the moment. I stayed quiet. Observed. Because this wasn't my fight to start. It was their system collapsing.
And all I had to do
was let it.
Later that day, one of the auditors stopped me again. We'll need a deeper breakdown of the integration risks you mentioned.
I nodded. Of course.
As I walked back to my desk, I realized something powerful.
For the first time,
the truth wasn't being questioned.
It was being requested. That night, I couldn't stop thinking. Why did Ethan protect Ryan so much? It didn't make sense anymore. Favoritism only goes so far.
There had to be a reason. The answer came unexpectedly. A senior colleague pulled me aside. You didn't hear this from me, she said quietly.
I nodded.
Ryan is connected. Connected how?
She hesitated.
His uncle is on the executive board.
That explained everything. The confidence. The protection. The blind trust. Ethan wasn't just favoring Ryan. He was protecting himself. If Ryan failed, Ethan would answer for it. So instead, he redirected the blame. To people like me.
I leaned back in my chair later, processing it all.
This wasn't just poor leadership. It was fear. And fear makes people do dangerous things. Because they stop choosing what's right. And start choosing what's safe. But now, that safety was gone.
Because the audit didn't care about connections.
It cared about truth.
The next few days were intense.
More questions. More reviews. More silence. Then it happened. Ryan snapped.
I didn't make these decisions alone, he said during a meeting.
The room froze. Ethan's expression hardened instantly. Be careful, he said quietly. But it was too late. The tension was out.
You approved everything, Ryan continued. Every single change.
Ethan stood up.
And you recommended them.
Their voices rose. Accusations. Deflections. The perfect system, breaking apart. I sat there, watching. Not involved. Not needed. Because this was no longer about me. This was about them.
And the truth doesn't need help when people start revealing it themselves.
The auditors took notes. Silent. Focused. Capturing everything. As the meeting ended, one thing was clear. The unity Ethan wanted? It was gone. And once a team turns on itself, there's no going back. Later that evening, I received a call. Not from Mr. Bennett. From someone else.
Adrian, this is Mr. Bennett's associate.
I sat up.
We've been reviewing your work closely.
My pulse slowed. Careful. Measured. Okay. I'll be direct, he said.
We're considering restructuring the project entirely.
That didn't surprise me, but what he said next did.
We'd like you to lead it.
I went silent. Lead? This is not official yet, he added.
But we need someone we can trust.
Trust. That word again. I appreciate that, I said.
But I'm still part of my current team.
For now, he replied calmly.
Then,
just think about it. The call ended. I stared at my reflection in the dark screen. A few weeks ago,
I was being blamed.
Now,
I was being considered to lead.
Not because I fought harder.
Not because I spoke louder.
But because I stayed consistent. And someone noticed. The audit report came in quietly. But its impact? Loud. A full breakdown of failures. Decisions. Costs. Responsibility.
No opinions.
Just facts. And the facts were clear. The issues traced back to leadership decisions. Approved by Ethan. Driven by Ryan's recommendations. Ignored warnings. Documented under my name. The room was silent as the report was discussed. No one argued. Because there was nothing left to argue. Ethan didn't look at me. Ryan didn't speak. For the first time.
Everything was visible. And visibility changes everything.
Because once the truth is seen, it demands action.
It didn't happen all at once. It never does. First, Ryan was removed from the project.
Quietly. No announcement. Just gone. Then meetings started happening without Ethan. Decisions made above him. Around him.
I watched it unfold with calm clarity.
This wasn't revenge. This was consequence.
Days later, Ethan called me in again.
But this time, he didn't look in control. We're restructuring, he said. I nodded. I need your support, he added. Support. After everything.
I looked at him.
Not angry. Not emotional. Just honest.
I've always supported the project.
He didn't respond. Because we both knew. That wasn't what he meant.
And it wasn't what I was offering anymore.
The call came the following morning. Full leadership. Client side. Serious. Decisive.
Mr. Bennett spoke clearly. We've completed our review.
Silence.
We've identified critical failures in leadership and decision-making.
Ethan sat still. Ryan wasn't even there. Then came the moment.
We will be moving forward with a new structure.
A pause. And then.
We'd like Adrian Vale to lead the recovery phase.
The room shifted instantly. I didn't react outwardly. But inside, everything changed.
Because this wasn't just recognition. This was trust, made official.
Ethan finally looked at me. But this time.
Not with authority.
With realization.
And maybe.
Regret. Ethan didn't get fired that day. It was quieter than that. More final.
He was transitioned out. A phrase that sounds soft.
But means everything is over. Ryan? Removed completely. No recovery. No second chance.
Because connections don't protect you.
When the truth is documented. I watched them leave. Not with satisfaction.
But with clarity.
Because this wasn't about destroying them. It was about revealing reality. And reality did the rest. My first day leading the project felt unreal. Same office. Same people. Different energy. Now, when I spoke, people listened. Not because they had to. Because they trusted the process. I rebuilt everything. Proper timelines. Clear communication. Real accountability. No shortcuts. The client stayed. The project stabilized. And slowly, it succeeded. But the real moment
was when a junior teammate came to me and said, "Thanks for actually listening."
That meant more than any title ever could.
Looking back, I understand something clearly now.
Revenge isn't always loud. It's not shouting. It's not exposing. It's not fighting. Sometimes,
it's simply letting the truth be seen.
I didn't break the system. I didn't cheat it. I didn't play dirty.
I stayed consistent.
Honest. Prepared.
And when the moment came,
the truth spoke for me. So here's what I learned.
White right pointing backhand index document your work. White right pointing backhand index speak up, even if no one listens at first. White right pointing backhand index never trade integrity for approval. White right pointing backhand index, and most importantly, patience beats power. Because in the end, I didn't just clear my name, I rewrote my future. And I learned one thing I'll never forget. You don't need to shout to be heard. You just need the truth and time. Favoritism fades. Shortcuts fail. But truth always finds its way. If you've ever been overlooked, ignored, or blamed unfairly, remember this. Your moment isn't missing. It's building. And when it arrives, make sure you're ready. If this story hit you, drop a comment with your experience. Like, share, and subscribe for more real stories like this.